Lecture 29, The Three Rings from Mediocrity to Greatness, Part 1. This is the 29th lecture of the leadership course, which focuses on self-awareness. I don't need to tell you how important it is to know oneself, as you surely understand its significance. What I need to convey is how to transition from static self-awareness to dynamic self-awareness. Many companies invest in personality tests for their managers, believing that this helps them understand themselves. While these tests may be somewhat useful, they only provide a static understanding of oneself. A leader, someone who strives for excellence, needs to have a dynamic understanding of oneself. So, how can one achieve dynamic self-awareness? It involves understanding both your present and future self, as well as the path that connects the two. In this lecture, I will teach you a method for dynamic self-awareness called the three-circle model. This model consists of three intersecting circles: passion, expertise, and opportunity. The intersection of these three circles represents your life vision, which is your future self. 1. From mediocrity to excellence. The three-circle model that I am using was borrowed from management guru Jim Collins. Collins did not originally discover the model. He co-authored a book called Built to Last that studied the secrets of success of 18 enduring companies. The book was a global bestseller, and Collins was naturally pleased. One day, Collins met a senior executive from McKinsey & Company. The executive told Collins that Built to Last was a well-written book but ultimately useless. Collins was taken aback and asked why. The executive replied that the companies Collins wrote about were always great. They had great founders like Marriott's J. Willard Marriott, Hewlett-Packard's Bill Hewlett and Dave Packard, who built their companies to be great from the very beginning. But most companies are not like that. Most companies are mediocre and only realize they want to be great later on. The experiences Collins wrote about were experiences of greatness from birth, which were not applicable to most companies. Collins found the executive's words to be reasonable and decided to research whether there were any long-term mediocre companies that could change themselves and become great. He set a standard for long-term mediocrity, which was at least 15 consecutive years of performance equal to or slightly below the market average. He set a standard for becoming great, which was a change in performance that lasted for at least 15 consecutive years and maintained a performance level of 3 times the market average. Did Collins find any companies that met both standards? Yes, but they were very, very few. He studied 1,435 companies and found only 11 that met both standards. That's less than 1%. He then studied what happened in these 11 companies that enabled them to make the leap from mediocrity to greatness. Collins wrote a book about his research called Good to Great, which was another global bestseller, even better than Built to Last, because most companies are mediocre and want to learn how to transform themselves into great companies. In Good to Great, good does not mean excellent, it means mediocre. These 11 companies were not initially excellent companies, they were mediocre companies. Therefore, a more accurate title would be From Mediocrity to Excellence or From Mediocrity to Greatness. 2. The three-circle theory for businesses. Now, let's talk about the three-circle theory. Collins discovered that of the 11 companies that made the leap from mediocrity to greatness, 6 secrets contributed to their success. One of these secrets is the three-circle theory. What is the three-circle theory? Collins found that some of these 11 companies were always specialized, while others were originally diversified. However, all of these diversified companies made the leap from mediocrity to greatness only after becoming specialized. In other words, only specialized companies can make the leap from mediocrity to greatness. You may wonder how these diversified companies, which were good at many businesses, chose which business to specialize in. Collins' research found that the final choice of these companies seemed to be the result of asking 3 questions. What business can we potentially be the best in the world at? Not what are we the best at, but what can we potentially be the best at? What are we passionate about? Collins' original words were, what drives our economic engine? In other words, what makes the most money? Collins said that these companies listed 2 or 3 answers under each question, and the final choice of the business was the one that appeared in all 3 circles. Now you know why Collins called it the 3-circle theory. It involves drawing 3 circles and filling in the answers to each question. The intersection of the 3 circles, or the 3 circles overlap, is the primary business that these companies ultimately chose.